All right, here's my decision. So the last section that I do in my free basic pistol class that I do in Colorado, all the vast majority of that section goes around the laws of how to apply for your permit and how not to lose your permit and what that permit means in Colorado context, what you can do and what you can't do. And I don't think that it's not even worth mentioning it to you guys. So what I will say is in a lot of jurisdictions, a lot of states will allow two things. So they will allow you to use deadly force. Generally, if you are in fear for life, serious bodily injury, sexual assault, or kidnapping. Four things. If one of those four things is met for yourself or for someone else, odds are that you are legally justified to use lethal force in most places. Not a lawyer, not legal advice. I'm telling you though, if you only use that as your criteria on of whether or not to act on someone else's behalf, you could find yourself in jail forever. Careful. My advice to you is this: do not use lethal force so anytime that gun goes off. Anywhere. Warning shot in the air, shooting a bad guy in the leg, anywhere. Anytime that gun goes off, that is going to be deemed use of lethal force. It is. So, anytime you are going to use lethal force, understand that you should only be doing so if you have no other recourse. There's no other action that you can take. You have to. Don't use that gun unless you have to. It's a gray area. It's not a defined line where you can say, I know that I have to right now. But it puts you should always be in the mindset of avoid, leave, move on, be somewhere else. If you find that you're not in that mindset, you don't have to use that gun. Period. You don't. If you're not thinking, I need to get the hell out of here, I want to leave right now. It's not real, guys. That's not real. It's not real. Those four don't actually exist. If you are using lethal force on someone else's behalf, be careful. I have a little bit of experience with, so I was bouncer for some time. I was in contract security for some time. I've seen a fair share of violent events, from bar fights to assaults to robberies. I'll tell you this: only a very small number of instances that I've ever seen involved a good guy at all. The vast majority of conflict that I've seen, even when we're talking about a dude beating up a lady, the vast majority of those conflicts, there is no good guy. There's no good guy to be found. So there's nobody that needs saving. That is my moral decision there, but I think it's a good one, right? When two bad guys beat the shit out of each other, that's not a tragedy. That's the universe making itself right. You don't need to involve yourself into that and potentially get wrapped up in all of the nastiness that will occur. You don't. So before you act on someone else's behalf, be damned sure that there is a bad guy and that there is a good guy and that you are helping the right one. It's not always clear. I like to outline a nightmare scenario for people in class. A nightmare scenario would just be any time that you have to think about using deadly force. Here's one that I use. Let's say you work night shift, you just got off, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you are walking home. Your walk home takes you down the bar street of your city, town, whatever, as the bar is letting out. So you've got drunk people that are just kind of scattering out of these places like roaches with the lights on. And you notice a dude snatch a girl up by the arm and toss her to the ground. You're a little bit of a distance away, just outside of conversational distance when you see this happen. He snatches her up, he throws her to the ground. Right then I ask people, what do you do? Let's say you're carrying, you have a permit, what do you do? So, larger dude against a smaller woman. Is that woman in potential fear for her life? Maybe. Is that woman in potential fear of serious bodily harm? Probably. And maybe in fear for for being sexually assaulted or kidnapped. Maybe. So, for Colorado, you are in that zone where you are near that justifiable use of deadly force. So, what do? A lot of people immediately answer, draw my gun. A lot of people say something like, halt, while drawing their gun. A lot of people take the less hardcore approach of telling the bad guy, stop, cut that out. Okay, so let's go with the least crazy of those. So you're like, stop. And that dude is getting ready to, whatever, cock back, some action on this lady that's grounded. He turns around, says, fuck off, and goes back to work. Goes back to shoving this girl around and nasty stuff. So what do you do now? You've told him to stop and he just told you to fuck off. Most people then say, draw your gun. Okay? So, say you draw your gun and you say something like, stop or I'll shoot. That dude peeks over his shoulder and starts to go for his waist as he's turning around towards you. Now what do? You don't know what's coming out of that waistband, right? Now, potentially, it's your life that's being threatened. When I ask the class, most people say, shoot him. Most people say that. When it gets that far, understand that you put yourself in a position where you're basically forced to make some terrible decision like that. Okay. So, you press the trigger. And boom. You make your first hit. It's a good hit. And dude falls over. Dead. Woman on the ground screams, stands up, runs away. You walk up to this dude. You see his shirt pulled up. What do you see? What's there? What do you think is there? Most people are like, oh, it's a gun. It's a knife. It's a bomb. It's a grenade. Some lethal weapon. In this scenario, understand this. What is there is a badge. You just shot an undercover cop. Not far-fetched, right? Undercover cop coming out of a bar. He's trying to make an arrest on a prostitute. And he is staying undercover because he's probably going to go do more of those operations later on in the night. It's not all about putting that out there because he's in the moment. Maybe you acted just before the rest of his team is coming in to make that arrest. Maybe. What now? What do you think a court's going to see, even if you outlined all of those things of how justified that shoot was? Not going to go your way, guys. So, extreme scenario to outline that maybe you should just not involve yourself in shit that isn't your business, unless you can absolutely determine that there is a bad guy. It just shows you have to do a little more work. Something to think about. Other thing I'll talk about is use of deadly force in the home, around castle doctrine. So a lot of states have castle doctrine, and Colorado at least says you have the right to feel absolute safety inside of your home, so that anyone who enters your home uninvited, who you have any reasonable threat, reasonable suspicion of committing any other crime, justifiable use of of lethal force. Okay, so if it is true for your jurisdiction where you live, if you have that set of laws and you are free from legal repercussions in those scenarios. So, bad guy walks into your house, middle of the night, and walks across your living room, snatches your TV remote off of your table and starts walking towards the door. So in those jurisdictions, you are legally justified to make a shot on that person, to kill them. So legal talk aside, if you do that, you are a terrible person. Value of property, value of life, any life. The lowest scumbag in the universe life is always going to be worth more than the most valuable possession in your house that you own, ever. Promise you. If you think, oh, kill that guy and it's one less piece of trash on the street, he won't be around to commit another crime. I say, think about this. Dude's got a mom and likely has a family. You want to introduce that nastiness to the world over your TV, even if it's a really nice TV. I don't know about that. Okay. You're like, I don't care about his family. His family must be terrible people to raise such a terrible human being that would violate my property like that. All right. What about the way you're going to feel after you take a life? You probably don't know. Even if you're a vet and you do know, you probably don't know what it feels like to do it stateside to a non-deemed, non-designated, terrible bad guy. All right? Serious life changes there. Even if you're okay with that, let's say you're a seasoned, hardcore, like, just 1,000-yard stare killer. Do you care about your family and their exposure to that? Because in your home, after you do that, you take that shot, you kill that bad guy, it's not a video game. Dude's not going to evaporate and you're not going to reset to a happy breakfast in the morning. Your family is going to have to squish, squish, squish across that carpet seeing the gore that you just made. Do you want to expose them to that? All right, so let's say you hate your family. Let's say you're a real piece of shit. Don't care about his bad guy's family. Don't care about bad guy. Don't care about how it feels to kill. Don't care about your family. Do you care about your social status? Do you care about how your neighbors, your friends, your employer, how they're going to look at you, knowing that you're the dude who kills people for nothing? But you're just a giant asshole, let's say that. Oh, well, I hate my neighbors and I had never had a job anyway. Okay. Man, if that's you, at least be cheap. Because if there's any hang up, any hiccup whatsoever that puts you outside of that law that allows that, anything, and it could be a whole lot of things. Understand that if you have to defend yourself at trial, the numbers that are thrown around there for the cost that it takes to be found innocent, $70,000. Plenty of cases upward of that. You got $70K laying around? You probably don't if you're that giant shitbag. You probably don't. Stuff to think about. Extremely serious repercussions. And the worst of those repercussions have nothing to do with the law or going to jail. They have everything to do with just introducing a huge amount of nastiness to all of the people that you care about around you. Consider it. Consider it carefully. All right, guys. The only other thing I'll say there is if you are forced into that, so you actually have to use that gun, you need to immediately assume more bad things are coming. Maybe you had to use your gun on a bad guy, but it's not likely. It's not always the only bad guy, so assume more bad things are coming. Get to a safe place, because you don't want to hang around the nastiness that's there. And while you're getting to a safe place, call the cops. You can talk to the cops. You probably ought to let them know that you were involved in some self-defense incident. First person to talk to the cops is almost always seen as the victim. So that's a powerful thing you need to realize. Do that. And then maybe after that, maybe consider a statement like, "Officer, I'm fine with making a statement and giving you all the details of what happened here, but I would like to do so in the presence of my lawyer." Cops get that. If you want to talk about a bunch of people that understand living life under the microscope, that's cops. Everything they do is scrutinized to the nth degree. So when you ask for a little bit of protection that is guaranteed you by our Constitution, then they get it. It's not like they're gonna immediately see you're a bad guy for not just coming out with it. That is my play. That is how I think is best to roll with that as a person who is not a lawyer. Okay? I'll say this. If you decide to just go off and just blah 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 blah, be careful. As Edgar from buddy of mine from Guns for Everyone, local good dude, also does these free classes. Badass dude. As Edgar will say, do not Tekashi 6ix9ine yourself. All right, guys. That is this extremely condensed version. So, if you like this, again, I've said it a bunch of times. Thank you for sticking around for all these videos. Please consider making a donation. DemonstratedConcepts.com. There's a Venmo link there. There's a PayPal link there. I appreciate it. It lets me keep doing the free content here. It lets me keep doing the free classes, free classroom classes, and free live fire classes. So go donate. Be a part of this activism. Be a part of keeping gun owners informed, safe, and training. Be a part of that. Thank you.